Star Wars The Clone Wars, Season 7, Episode 6, entitled Deal No Deal. Not Deal or No Deal, just Deal No Deal. Continues the Ahsoka Tano adventure with Trace and really covers her departure from Coruscant. That's kind of where we're going with the story. She is leaving Coruscant. And actually, the first moment that kind of hit me in the episode that made my eyebrows go up was when she is leaving the planet and Anakin Skywalker kind of senses her leaving, and then she senses him, and Anakin actually has a chance to stop her and he chooses not to. Now, again, it was very cryptic when you first see that scene because I'm not sure if he definitely knew that it was Ahsoka Tano or if it was just he felt a presence that was familiar. If you remember back in Star Wars A New Hope, the first movie, he senses Obi-Wan. He's like, I sense a presence I haven't felt since... Like, he's not sure that it is Obi-Wan, but he is sure, you know. So the Force is not 100% clear. It doesn't just show you who's there all the time. So I'm wondering what kind of happened here, if he sort of let it go because he wasn't sure if it was Ahsoka Tano, or if he knew it was and just let it go because he knew it would be the right thing. Interesting stuff to think about there. Interestingly enough, they end up in Kessel, of all places, from the Solo film, if you've seen the Solo movie, where the Kessel run happened, of course. We've heard about Kessel since, well, the first Star Wars film. Here we are seeing it once again in Clone Wars. And of course, Rafa, again, Trace's sister or whatever, is very, very shady. Very shady in this episode. We're picking up medicine. Yeah, I'm sure she'll believe that. You know, kind of like they're telegraphing it, all right? They're telegraphing it to the audience. But again, they also telegraphed Echo turning on them. That hasn't happened yet, so maybe it won't happen. Maybe I'm wrong. Just seems like something that is being obviously telegraphed. Turns out she's running spice. She is a spice runner like your boy Poe Dameron used to be. I don't know if this was done on purpose because they knew they were going to put it in the movie, or if there's synergy there, if it was just a coincidence. But yes, she is a spice runner, and Ahsoka does not like that. It's very dangerous because it's very risky. The people who run spice, are not fondly looked upon by other people, etc., etc., etc. You know the drill. You know what I'm talking about. And of course, when they get to the mining area and whatnot, there are slaves there, and Ahsoka does not like it. And it's funny because Rafa brings up a good argument. She's like, "Oh, you'd think the Republic would shut the place down if there were really slaves here," and Ahsoka's like, "Oh, you'd think they would." So Ahsoka Tano was one of the early characters in this canon or continuity that kind of figured out that the Republic is corrupt and has been for a very long time. Obviously, under the reign of Palpatine, it's as corrupt as it can get. I mean, the guy's a Sith Lord. Nobody knew about it at this time during this part of the timeline. But, Ahsoka Tano was so disgusted. She's the true definition of a rebel because she was so disgusted at, not just the Republic, but also the Jedi, because they were also, not doing things according to the way she thought they should do things. So, it's interesting that the Clone Wars, at the end of the day, even though there are good people on both sides, like the opening crawl of Episode 3 said, evil is everywhere, heroes on both sides, which is true. I mean, there are good people on both sides fighting for the right thing to do. Although the Separatists have a lot of droids and things like that, there are obviously people who think that what they're doing is right. It's very much a gray area there. Because remember, the Republic, as good as it is being run by a Sith Lord. They don't know it yet, but it is. So she was quick to pick up on sort of the wishy-washiness, I guess, of the Republic. So they get into like this argument on the ship about, delivering the spice to Coruscant for the Pikes and whatnot. The Pikes, of course, being gangsters, and Ahsoka wanting it to be a different sort of thing. And it's all like, Trace is kind of stuck in the middle of this sort of battle between these two people, right on her ship. Like this verbal battle. They don't actually get into a fight, it's verbally, And Trace just dumps the spice in the middle of space, dude. It's like floating around in space. It's gone, and I wasn't expecting that. But the problem is now they have to figure out how they're going to pay for the spice. They have to figure out how they're going to pay for it. And Rafa wants to sell the ship, but Trace is not really down for that. I'll be honest with you. I might get heat for this, but I always keep it real with y'all. Ahsoka became really annoying in this episode. And I know that Ahsoka's annoying to a lot of people because Dave Filoni loves to kind of, I don't want to say she's not a Mary Sue. She's not. But he likes to shove her down people's throats, according to many fans. I don't agree with that, but she did become like a centerpiece of the story in other arcs and things like that. But in this episode in particular, it got to the point where she's making irrational decisions and then justifying it by saying, well, that was more of a morality thing. Like, no, get fucked. Get fucked. Like, this is a real problem you're in, and you're over here, trying to look at it from a moral perspective, which is nice, but if you don't have a solution plan, you're screwing everybody else over. You know what I mean? And that really did annoy me about Ahsoka in this episode, because this is a real situation. And yeah, she might be a Jedi, but the others are not. She also wants to hide the fact that she's a Jedi, hide the fact she knows the Force. How's she going to do that? I mean, she can go in there and slice up the Pikes all she wants to, but then everyone's going to know she's a Jedi. And then what, So it's just one of those things where as I'm watching it, I'm like, man, like, she's annoying right here. She's an annoying character in this episode. So Ahsoka comes up with a plan, and on the surface, that's a bad plan, right? Everybody says so, but what actually ends up happening is she uses her Jedi mind trick to get the Pikes to give up the payment and to just let them go and be on their way. Of course, she does that in a very subtle way. Nobody really could tell she was doing it, but she did it. So she was able to use her Jedi powers without actually using, her Jedi powers in a way that people would know she was a Jedi. And it was interesting, and it worked. And it's one of those things where it's logical writing. If the Jedi have these abilities, why not try them whenever you get stuck into a jam to hide who they are and do very covert strategies? Like, I've always felt that way. So it's good writing. That's actually good writing here. Right after some really atrocious writing of Ahsoka, in my opinion. But the Pikes open up the cargo and find out that the spice is not there, and there's trouble. And that is the cliffhanger for the episode. Overall, I did enjoy it. Thumbs in the middle episode, I would say. I'm curious to see where it goes, because it's in the middle of a current arc, and I don't know where it's going, obviously. I don't know how they're going to get out of the situation, because the Pikes are onto them, but we'll find out next week. So, Star Wars Clone Wars Season 7, Episode 6. What did you think? Let me know in the comments, and we'll talk about it. I will read them, and we'll see what happens next week. Talk to you soon.